What if a single decision had rewritten history? What if the Mahabharata never had a war? If Duryodhana had accepted peace, if Karna had known the truth, or if a hidden warrior had ended everything in a flash? Today, we're diving into the most shocking what-if scenarios of the Mahabharata, alternate endings that could have changed everything. Some of these possibilities will blow your mind, so stick around because this is about to get intense. And if you love diving into epic what-ifs like these, please hit the like button and subscribe. Let's begin. Many believe the war might never have happened if Duryodhana had simply agreed to give the Pandavas 5 small villages as peace offering. Others point out that if Bhishma, the respected grandsire, had firmly intervened against the injustices earlier, the cousins would never have reached the battlefield at all. There's even a little-known tale of Barbarik, a warrior so powerful he could have ended the entire war in 1 minute, a twist so drastic that Lord Krishna himself had to intervene to stop it. These are just a few of the fascinating scenarios we'll unravel. Intrigued already? Great. Let's journey through the Mahabharata that might have been, keeping an eye on these pivotal moments and choices. And don't forget to subscribe for more thought-provoking explorations of epic history. The simplest fork in the road was offered just before war broke out: diplomacy. After years of exile, the Pandavas humbly requested just 5 villages in return for their kingdom as a final peace deal. Even this paltry compromise infuriated the Kaurava prince Duryodhana. He scoffed that he wouldn't yield even a needlepoint of land to his cousins. In fact, during Lord Krishna's peace mission to Hastinapura, Duryodhana outright refused any compromise and even tried to arrest Krishna rather than listen. This obstinate rejection sealed the fate of all the warriors on both sides. But what if Duryodhana's heart had softened, just a little? What if he had said, "All right, take your 5 villages and let's avoid bloodshed"? It's tantalizing to imagine. No war at Kurukshetra. The Pandavas would rule their small provinces and Duryodhana would remain king of Hastinapura. Thousands of lives would be saved. As one commentary notes, the war could have been avoided had Duryodhana been willing to part with just those 5 villages. The Pandavas themselves were ready to live in peace with that token of respect. Duryodhana's own advisors like Bhishma, Vidura, and even his father Dhritarashtra urged him to see reason, but pride and envy held him back. Gandhiji later summed up this kind of situation perfectly. There is enough in the world for everyone's need, but not enough for one man's greed. Duryodhana's greed and ego wouldn't allow him to share power, not even a little. Now, had he agreed to peace, would it have lasted? Perhaps Duryodhana's resentment might have lingered, maybe causing conflicts later. But the all-out war, the 18-day carnage that is the centerpiece of the Mahabharata, would not have happened then and there. The entire tale's climax would shift from a battlefield to a more subdued political drama. It's a calmer ending for sure. One could argue the Pandavas and Kauravas might eventually clash again in the future. But there's no doubt that countless warriors who perished would have lived long lives if Duryodhana had chosen the path of peace. The stakes were that high on this single decision. Imagine the ripple effect. Heroes like Bhishma and Drona would not fall in battle, Karna would not meet his tragic end, and Draupadi would not have to mourn her sons. It's almost like a parallel universe where the Mahabharata is a story of reconciliation rather than devastation. Before we move on, what do you think? If you were Duryodhana at that moment, facing Krishna's proposal, could you have put aside pride to avoid a war? It's a tough ask for someone so driven by jealousy. Duryodhana himself felt that giving up even a bit of power was worse than defeat. His unyielding pride is what made the war inevitable in the actual story. But this alternate ending, a chance for peace, reminds us how ego can literally change the course of history. Enjoying these what-if scenarios? Hit that like button and share your thoughts on Duryodhana's choice in the comments. Would peace have truly endured, or would war come later anyway? Not all turning points rest with the main villains. Some lie with the wise elders who tragically stood silent or conflicted when they should have acted. Bhishma, the legendary grandsire of both the Pandavas and Kauravas, and Dronakarya, the prince's teacher, both ended up fighting for Duryodhana, despite knowing that his cause was unjust. Throughout the tensions, these elders gave advice, but never forcefully stopped Duryodhana. A scholar notes that the war could have been avoided if only Bhishma had acted more carefully and forcefully at different junctures. In other words, if Bhishma had put his foot down hard against Duryodhana's misdeeds, the course of history would have changed. Consider the infamous dice game where Draupadi was dragged into the court and humiliatingly assaulted while all the elders watched. Bhishma was present. So was Drona, Kripa, Vidura, and King Dhritarashtra. None successfully stopped the atrocity. That incident planted the seeds of wrath that eventually led to war. If even one elder had roared in protest and prevented Draupadi's humiliation, the Pandavas' rage might not have burned so hot. Draupadi herself might not have sworn a terrible vow of vengeance. It's the classic case of good people doing nothing in the face of evil, and how that enables disaster. What about Dronakarya? As the royal guru, he had influence. Yet he too remained loyal to the throne rather than justice. It's a tragic dilemma. Duty to your oath versus duty to your conscience. These elders chose the former, and it led to war. If they had chosen the latter, Duryodhana would have been isolated. Picture a scenario where Bhishma announces, "I will not fight for an unjust cause. Nephew, make peace or I lay down my weapons." Duryodhana revered Bhishma enough that this might have shamed him into compromise, or at least drastically weakened his position if he still refused. In that alternate timeline, no Bhishma or Drona on the Kaurava side means Duryodhana loses two of his best generals. Maybe he'd still be stubborn enough to fight, but his chances of victory would plunge. That's a wrap for part 1, where we uncovered how Duryodhana's stubborn refusal of 5 humble villages set an unstoppable chain of events into motion. Imagine a world saved by a single act of humility. What a different destiny that would have been. But the journey doesn't end here. In part 2, we dive into 2 even more gripping what-if scenarios. First, the heart-wrenching secret of Karna and Kunti, a revelation that could have altered the very bonds of family and war. And second, the awe-inspiring tale of Barbaric, the warrior whose unmatched power could have ended everything in a flash. If you're as intrigued as I am, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Trust me, you won't want to miss the surprises and revelations in part 2. Every choice echoes through time. See you soon.